After 4 years of varsity rugby, I've truly begun to love the sport. Unfortunately, Americans don't know very much about rugby since it isn't as popular in America. So I'm here to educate you about the second most popular sport in America. Rugby originated in the 19th century called rugby union. The first rules were written down by the students of rugby school in Rugby, England. Rugby became a professional sport in 1995 once the organization allowed for the payment of players. Since then, it has grown in popularity and has even become an international sport. The World Cup, the Rugby World Cup, is hosted every 4 years since 1987, with multiple teams competing nationally. South Africa won the most recent World Cup in 2019, hosted in Tokyo, Japan. Another famous league is the Six Nations, which is a six-team round robin between England, Ireland, Scotland, France, Italy, and Wales. Each team will play each other once. The most popular and best team in rugby is the New Zealand All Blacks. They are called the All Blacks because of their all black uniforms that they wear. Since 2003 they have been ranked at least third in national rankings and most commonly are found at first. They have a record of 455 wins of 588 matches. The U.S. also has its own rugby team called the U.S. Eagles, which placed 16th in the last World Cup. Major League Rugby is the America's National League, which has 13 teams competing against each other across the nation, including Washington D.C.'s team, Old Glory. To score, the ball is placed in the end zone for 5 points, and this is called a try. After a try, the ball is taken out and kicked through the uprights for an additional 2 points, called an extra point. This accounts for a total of 7 points. At any time during play, a player can kick the ball through the uprights for 3 points, which is called a field goal. This is very similar to football with the scoring of sevens and threes. Also, in rugby and football, they use very similar balls and even the same field. But that is where the similarities end. In rugby, you can only advance the ball forward by running and kicking. If you can pass the ball, but only pass it backwards or laterally. If the ball is passed forward, it is a turnover and the other team gets a ball. Rugby is played with 30 players on the field at one time, with 15 on each team. There are 7 forwards and 7 backs and 1 scrum half. The forwards are big and strong. Their job is to help retain possession of the ball and to tackle the opposing team. Backs are fast and shifty, and their job is to advance the ball and most commonly score it. The scrum half's job is to redistribute the ball between the backs and to get the ball out after tackles. There's also another form of rugby called rugby sevens, which is played with 7 on each team. Sevens is very popular because there are tons of scoring opportunities. Rugby sevens was introduced to the World Olympics in 2016 in Rio de Janeiro. Fiji won golds in 2016. There's also a Rugby Sevens World Cup, which New Zealand dominates with 3 championships since 1993 and the beginning of Rugby Sevens World Cup. There's also women's rugby, which is a very popular league. They have their own World Cup, and there is an American women's national team. Many people think that rugby is dangerous and unsafe since there are no pads. But there are lots of rules that actually protect players that keep them safe. You're not allowed to use your head and you have to tackle low, and coaching emphasizes safe play. There is 1 referee and 2 line judges to officiate the game. The referee calls any penalties for any unsafe actions, and the line judges are responsible to watch when the ball goes out of bounds. When the ball is out of bounds, it is actually turnover, so the team that steps out of bounds last must give up the ball to the other team. Now, the best rule in rugby is the post-game party. the hosting team or the home team must throw a party for the away team. Most commonly, this is a potluck, but it is with good food, either pizza or something else. This is required throughout all levels of rugby.